everyone, I'm JD from Willow Journals. Welcome back to my channel. So a few years ago I shared a video called 12 ways to make a journal cover, and since I've been making journals for a while now and tried different techniques, I wanted to do an update to that video and share some of my favorite ways to make covers, decorate covers, and all that kind of thing, and hope it is inspiring for you and you get started at home working on your own journals. It's so fun. So I'm gonna order this from easiest to then hardest, and the easiest way, the first way, is to just use a pre-existing journal. This could be a composition book, it could be any spiral notebook, which is what I started with. When I first started making my own journals, I began with visual diaries, and I would decorate the covers and then I would decorate the pages that were already in the journal. So here are just two examples of a new notebook that I love. It's a square scrapbook that I get from Kmart, and they have craft pages, so I just used the pages in that as my journal. And because it's got this beautiful blank, it's just a blank cover, I could decorate that however I wanted. So this one I stuck a photo on and just used some markers to do a title. This one I got some paint. This is an art journal, so I decorated it all with just messy paint, metallic paint, and I love it. That makes me so happy. You could also collage over the top, or just put some scrapbook paper or decorative paper on the top. Sky's the limit as to how you decorate your journal cover. And this one was a holiday journal, so this one I took on holidays with me, sort of used it as a travel journal and as a scrapbook of my holiday. So love these two journals. Really simple way to break into making your own journals. Okay, so the next way to make a journal cover is sort of similar, is to use a pre-existing book, or to alter a book basically, which I absolutely love doing. I'll give you an example here. This was my very first altered book that I did when I ran the Anchor journaling course. And what happens with an altered book is you use the existing cover from the book, and you also use the existing book pages, but you just rip out some pages and you might glue some pages together, because as you add things to your pages, they do bulk up, and you do need to cover up, you know, what's already on the book pages, the writing or whatever pictures are on the pages. So love this so much, because you're basically making the pages yourself. And yeah, just scrumptious. Anyway, but super easy way to make the cover, because it's already, you know, pre-existing for you. All you need to do is decorate it. And if you get a book that is already, you know, got a beautiful cover, you don't need to decorate it at all. Bonus. But yeah, I used for this one as an example just a page from a magazine, Daphne's Diary magazine. I just love this image, stuck it right on, and I love it. Something a bit more complicated is to collage. So this one I've used a bunch of printables and made a patchwork, and love it. And I did do the back as well. And this one I used a mix of vintage music paper, book page, vintage ledger, and magazine pages. So yeah, a hodgepodge of all different things on this one, and I love these covers so much. Now the way I made these two was to use a phone book. So these are free. This is a wonderful way to get started with making your own journals as well, is to use a phone book. I turned this into this, and I absolutely love it so much. I ran a course with this one too, called the Inspiration Journal course. It's a free course on my channel, and I take you through page by page, filling up all of these pages, so you can join me in that as well. There are prompts. I think it goes for a month, and you can just, obviously it's on my channel, so you can go at your own pace. And I love how it looks so much so that I created another one over here, and I will continue to make one. In fact, I've started my third one. Woo-hoo. Can't wait to share that with you too later on. So yeah, phone books, great way to make a journal. Okay, so now we're starting to get into covers that you do need to add your own papers too. So far I've shared the easiest ways just to use pre-existing books or journals where you just use the pages already in there. Now you do have to start learning to bind your journals and add your own pages. But as for the cover, super simple. You don't have to do anything with it. Use a magazine for this one, a magazine cover. So Daphne's Diary is my favorite magazine. I've done many flip throughs of it on my channel and many tutorials showing how I make journals using the magazine, not just for the cover but for the pages. And here are 2 examples of personal journals that I made using just the magazine cover. And this one I did reinforce a little bit by gluing on one of the pages from the magazine on the inside. But this one I literally just used the cover, nothing else. So you could honestly just rip this down here, cut it down, fold it in half, and you have a cover right there. Or you could do what I did and actually, you know, measure it down a little bit to make a smaller size. This one I sort of made traveler's notebook size, this one a bit bigger, but I absolutely love these. No decorating the cover required. I do intend to make myself a journal using this cover, and I do plan to share how I make that either on my channel or over on my Patreon, because I want to make not only a journal out of this, but I also want to do another course where I show you how I fill it up, because I know lots of you love Daphne's Diary. So I thought I'd take you through not just making it this time, but how I fill it up as well. I get lots and lots of questions about how I use the pages, how I journal using a Daphne's Diary journal. So I thought I'd take you through that in some sort of a course. So I'm saving this cover, so excited. So yes, using magazine covers or any paper or card that's thick enough you can use. I'm just giving you some ideas here, but there's going to be so many other ideas as well, and hopefully this gives you room to think outside the box and look at your supplies and the things around you with new eyes, and to see how you can make covers out of just anything that is around you. So this super easy way to make a journal cover is just to use scrapbook paper. Because scrapbook paper, if you find one that really speaks to you and is beautiful and decorative to you, then all you need to do is grab it, cut it down to size, or even just fold it in half if you like a big journal, and there you have a wonderful cover. I love this image. This water is just beautiful. I mean, I would frame this even and put this on my wall, let alone have it as a beautiful journal. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? I love it. So pretty. So here's an example of a journal I made myself using scrapbook paper. Love it. Now, some of you might be thinking, isn't scrapbook paper a bit flimsy? It is a bit, but it's a really simple way to make a cover. And I use mine as traveler's notebook journals. So where I slip them into a traveler's notebook cover. So they are a little bit more protected, but honestly, I would be fine with this. Just putting that on my shelf, pulling that out and using that as a journal. But if you were worried about that, you could definitely glue it onto a second piece of scrapbook paper or glue it onto something else, just to make it a little bit more sturdy depending on your needs. But yeah, choose the type of cover that suits your needs. If you need something sturdier, maybe choose a different way to make your cover. But there's always ways to work with what you've got and to reinforce them and make them stronger if you want. Okay, now we're starting to get into the covers that require a bit more effort, where we need to now decorate the covers ourselves. So my favorite way to do this is one of my signature styles, using a paper bag. So all you do is grab a paper bag, fold it in half, and this is why this one, I'm starting with this one because it's so easy. You don't need to measure it or cut it to size or anything. Just fold it in half, and then there's your base to decorate. I've also got a glassine bag here to show you can use a glassine bag. I've used half-size paper bags. Like any size paper bag will work. You can have a mini journal, you can have a bigger journal. Paper bags make a great base, and I mean, you can get these anywhere. These are just like lunch bags. I used these as a kid going to primary school for taking my lunch to school. So who knew that I would eventually be making journal covers out of them? And here are some examples. You might be thinking, what? It's just a paper bag. That's just so mundane. Like, you take your lunch to school in that. How can you make anything beautiful out of a paper bag? I love it. My very first journal that I ever bought, in terms of the junk journal style, was made out of a glassine bag, and that inspired me to make my paper bag journals. And here are some examples. These are all paper bags, and once you decorate them, you transform them into something amazing, something beautiful, and just so different, right? Like this one, I've actually used the pattern papers of those sewing patterns. In fact, that could sort of be its own category. Let me show you something. When I go to op shops, I always look for these pattern pouches. So this is what they look like if you've never seen one before. They come in tissue paper and the pattern there to make whatever design is on the front. And you just cut down here and here, open it up, and then there's your cover, basically. Now, I do find it too flimsy to use on its own, so I use the paper bag as my base. You could use anything as your base, though. You could use any one of the other methods that I am going to be sharing soon. Any paper card, you could cover it up. A book cover, you could cover a book cover with this. So look for pattern papers, pattern pouches. These make wonderful, wonderful covers. I love them so much. So that's an example of one that I've made, and I just patched, some fabric and a pocket on the back. And you can really transform them. This one, I put some lace here, and I've used book pages to decorate. These ones, I've used some collages and some digitals from my Etsy, and also got a pocket on the front here. So, I mean, you can go to town decorating these paper bags and turning them into whatever you want. So these ones are all in my Etsy, and just a little sample of what you can do with the paper bag. If you want to check out my Etsy or my channel, you'll see other examples of what you can do with the paper bag. You can make them thin, you can really chunk them up, because they are forgiving. Is that the right word? They allow a lot of growth, a lot of room. Flexible, that's more the word I'm going. Okay, so another favorite way that I like to make journals is using envelopes. So it's very, very similar to the paper bag because there's no cutting or measuring required. So super, super easy. Here is a smaller envelope, and all I do is fold that in half. Super easy. There's your base to start decorating. And these 3 journals is what I made. I used this envelope to make these 3 journals, is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, I collaged these ones. So just using vintage papers, book pages, music paper, even just paper scraps in my scrap box where I put leftover pieces to make these covers. Just added a pretty sticker, and I love them so, so much. Aren't they gorgeous? All just using a humble envelope. You can use bigger sizes. This is a larger envelope, so double the size. So you can make large journals. Let me show you some examples of that. So again, these 2 are in my Etsy to give you some examples of different designs you can do. This one I used book page, Edith Holden book page. This one here I used a scrapbook paper, and then I got a bit fancy and added a whole bunch of pockets and envelopes on the front. So you can really jazz these up as much as you want. It's just a base. You can decorate it as simply as you want with like one image, one page, or you can add, pockets galore, lace, trim, collage. So much you can do. Here's some other examples. This is to give you some other ideas of how to decorate covers. Okay, this one I scanned a t-shirt. When I went to Cairns, another holiday to Cairns, I got this t-shirt, and at the butterfly house I scanned it, and then I printed it out, and that is what I've used as the cover, a scanned piece of clothing. Yeah, I hope this is helping you to look at the things around you with new eyes and help you see that you can use anything in making journals. Clothing, it just might mean looking at it with creative eyes and seeing how you can use it in creative ways. So yeah, clothing, fabric, beautiful. This one, it sort of can stand alone as its own way to make a cover as well. Wallpaper, because wallpaper is quite sturdy on its own as well. You might need to back it onto something. You could back it onto whatever you want to just make it a bit more sturdy. I used an envelope. I used one of these to make my envelope journal cover, and this one I made ages ago. Here, look, in March 2020. So this is all on my channel as well, where I showed you how I filled up this journal. If you would like to fill up a journal as well, we had a different prompt each day in March of different items to use, and so you can follow along with that as well if you would like. Oh, here's the prompts, and that was very fun. Love, 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 love. Okay, so we're getting a bit more advanced with our journal cover techniques using a manila folder. The reason why this one is a little bit more advanced is because where you didn't have to measure anything with an envelope or paper bag, you just fold it in half. With the file folder, you're now starting to have to measure your own covers and cut them down to size, which gives you freedom though to make any journal size you want. So, I mean, you could, if you want, make a really large journal. You could make more of like a traveler's notebook journal, what I've got here, or something more like that. Anything you want, but it does require you to now cut it and measure it yourself. But then that provides you your base to start decorating. So here's an example of one that I made for me. And I used a blue manila folder for the background, since blue is my favorite color. Great thing that you can get all different colors of manila folder these days. And I decorated it with just some beautiful decorative paper, some scrapbook paper, and there's some little embellishments here as well. But like any cover, you can go to town with it. You can use fabric, you can use lace, you can collage on top of it. Yeah, I've done a little patchwork at the back here, and love how it turned out. I did put some decorative paper on the inside as well. So you can have so much fun just again using the humble supply of a file folder or manila folder. So the next method is to use something like chipboard. I'm not actually sure officially what this is called, because I know you can get this in different weights and thicknesses. This one came from the back of a paper pad, and this one too. And these are great because, again, all you need to do is fold these in half, or you can cut them down to size as well. And then you can cover them however you want. This one is the cover of a notebook. So as you can see here, I've ripped out all of the pages to use in my journals, and I'm left with these beautiful, these are a bit thicker as well, a bit thicker than that. And these leave me with beautiful bases to use to make covers. And here are some examples. So this one, did I make it out of this one? It looks like I did. So, because you can get all different sizes, all different weights. This one I just made for myself. It is a simple fabric covered journal. So you can see that beautiful fabric, and fabric is a great way to make journal covers, a great way to decorate your cover. Love, love, love it. Here's another one. This one is using chipboard that's a bit sturdier and, as you can see, a bit bigger. This one must have come from a larger paper pad. And I just used this beautiful blue fabric that came from Susan, Kindred Spirit Susan. Thank you, Susan. She sent this to me and I absolutely love it. It looks beautiful. The blue butterfly has become my symbol in the junk journal world. And yeah, just some beautiful fabric is all you need to create a beautiful cover. Oh, and here are two more examples of covers that I made for myself. This one here, really simple, just used a base fabric and then put a doily and a butterfly on top, and that makes a sweet little journal. But just to show you as well, you can use smaller paper pad backings. And then this one is using a larger piece of chipboard, and I use this base fabric here and decorate it with wedding dress. So there's another idea of how to make a cover and decorate a cover, is to use actual clothing, dresses, wedding dresses. I literally just got this from the op shop, and yeah, sometimes I will go to the op shop and look for things like doona covers, nice skirts or dresses or tops that I can cut up and use as journal covers. Okay, so now we're getting a bit more into some more advanced techniques with using boxes. And this is so fun though, because there are boxes in all different sizes and different spine widths, and you can use cereal boxes, biscuit boxes. Apparently I've got all biscuit boxes here. I've used pasta boxes, muesli bar boxes, roll-up boxes that are a nice size. And yeah, all you have to do with these ones though is open it up. Well, eat whatever is in there. Hopefully it's delicious. And then open it up and then cut down the side where they're joined. So I just cut straight down there, and then I cut off all of the flaps at the top and the bottom, and cut off the side flaps here too, to create a cover. And then you can cover this and decorate it with whatever you want. Here I'll give you some examples. This one I just covered in beautiful fabric. If you've got beautiful enough fabric, you don't need to do anything else to it but just use that fabric. And then this one here, I've done something a bit more fancy. This is all pieces that came from my grandma. So very special, just kind of patched it all together with doily and little quilting pieces and ribbon. And yeah, love, love, love. So you can patch things on, you can collage on top of that. So many ways you can decorate cereal boxes or boxes of any kind. Okay, so now we're coming up to a more advanced technique using book covers, but this is one of my absolute favorite ways to make journals. It is a little bit tricky when you're first starting out to get the hang of it, but basically you're going to strip the pages if you're not using it as an altered book, and you're going to just be left with the cover itself. And then basically what that requires you to do is to bind in your own signatures into that spine. But once you have done all of that, you come up with the most amazing journal made out of a book. I love, love, love it. Here are just some examples of how to decorate, but wanted to share first that the easiest way is to just leave the cover as is. If you have a nice enough cover, they can stand on their own. This one, I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but it's got some beautiful embossing there and border. So especially vintage books, I love letting them just stand on their own. But for these ones, these are all Reader's Digest books, which are my favorite books to use for making my covers. Again, you can see this is a Reader's Digest book here. They're just a really great size. This one, I've used one of my collage papers, one of the collage packs from my Etsy with vintage French collage. Love, love it, and got the lace there. I've used some William Morris washi tape down the spines. So here again, this one, lovely, just use a book image for the focal image, and then use this cool frame and stuck that on top. And I didn't even decorate the back. I don't need to, because it's just for me, and it's all about the front cover for me. This one I also made myself, and I filled it all up. This was my love journal, one of my faith journals that I kept in the past, recording all the places and times that I saw God's love in my life. And I was inspired by a video by Amity Bloom where she made a scrap journal, and I've just pieced together scraps from, a lot of it's from Daphne's diary. And I use masking tape for the spine of this one. Another idea or way to decorate your book cover is to actually use a collage masterboard. So here's some that I have prepared. This is a vintage French collage masterboard, and this is what it looks like on a journal cover. Isn't that cool? So that's just my manila folder collaged on top of. I've cut it to the size of the journal, or to the book cover. And I'll just give you some other examples here. And aren't they cool? I love them. So cool. Love, love, love. So you don't necessarily have to decorate the cover directly. You can decorate another piece of paper or file folder and then cut that to size and then stick it on top. Love it. But you could do something simpler. You could use, you know, just a book page or a decorative image that you love, a printable that you like, and just stick that right on top. Another way to use a book cover is like this. So a completely different style of book. I used Granny Chic, stripped out all the pages, added my own pages, and I just used plain white paper, and you just join them with some tape. I used masking tape to join two pieces of paper together so they could bind it into the journal, because it's quite a large size. But yeah, that's one way I used the cover. I didn't decorate this cover at all. I just loved it as is. The book is just beautiful by itself. So that's another idea. Strip out the pages and use the cover as is. Now, our last two methods to make a journal are the most complicated. The more advanced techniques are required, because what we're doing with these last two covers is constructing them completely ourselves. So I'm going to show you two ways. One is a fabric cover and another is a hard cover. So this is a soft cover journal, and then I'll show you the hard cover one after this. So this is using this quilted fabric. I got this from Spotlight here in Australia, and I've used this fusible interfacing as well, ironed that on top. But honestly, I've kind of peeled this one off because you don't even need it. I found that just using this, it's quite thick, and you know, it's a soft cover journal. We don't need it to be rigid. So this was just enough for me. I didn't really need that extra rigidity needed from the interfacing. But if you wanted that, you definitely could. But I loved using this. I made a journal using this recently. It's already sold, so I can't show you what it looks like finished, but it was a floral garden journal using embroidered doilies. So something like this. And here is another idea for you as a way to decorate your journal covers. Doilies, linens, your embroidered fabrics and trims. Like, can you imagine this cover here? I don't know, hang on, if I can line it up a bit better, and then just sew that on, and there is my cover. If I just cut that to size, for example, like that, wouldn't that be absolutely beautiful? And then I would add some fabric to the inside as well. So even if you don't have beautiful linens and doilies like that, just a beautiful fabric will do. Isn't this one gorgeous? And just add that to your beautiful base. And then it's just so cozy and quilty and scrumptious. So you do have to, you know, measure it to size, and cut the piece of quilting fabric base to whatever size you want it to be. And then it does take a bit of, you know, you've got to cut your fabric to size, you've got to glue it on or sew it on. But once you have it, it looks spectacular. So before I show you the last way to make your own journal cover, I wanted to share sort of a midway point between using a book cover and constructing one entirely yourself. So Little Golden Books make wonderful, wonderful, wonderful journal covers. I love them. I mean, they're just so full of nostalgia for me, especially growing up with a library right outside my room. One of our rooms in the house was a library, and there were Little Golden Books along the bottom shelf. And so I just love using Little Golden Books as journal covers. Basically, it's a little bit more advanced because you do need to cut off the spine here so that you're left with a front and a back cover. And then you do have to construct your own spine. So what I use for this is thicker chipboard or bookboard. It can't be the flimsy kind, because it needs to be sturdy to add your own signatures to. So you can see that here, that's chipboard. You can buy a bookboard, but what I use are the backs of sturdier paper pads. So I have A3 drawing pads, and this is very, very thick, as you can see here. It's quite difficult to cut through this, but once you have cut through it, it makes a wonderful spine. So yeah, love how these ones turn out. I do have a tutorial on how to make this on my channel where you create your own spine, but basically, yeah, you have your front and back cover and you line them up with your spine in between, and you're using fabric to glue them all together and hold the pieces together. Okay, so this is probably my absolute favorite way to make a journal cover, just because it creates the journal that is nicest to my eye. I like this large size, I like it being sturdy, I like a hard cover, and it just feels good to be able to make it entirely yourself from scratch. As an artist, as a creator, it's just nice to have your hand in every single step of that process, so it truly comes from you. And these are just 3 examples of some that I made. So basically what you're doing is not only cutting out a spine, but you're also cutting out your front and back covers, and then instead of just attaching the spine to the covers, what I do is use fabric to cover the entire journal. So you can see here I have used fabric, and I've just used some paper or book page to cover the inside. You could use fabric as well to cover up the inside covers, but yeah, I absolutely love using chipboard. So I've got some thicker board here that you could use to make your cover. This could be a great one. If I just cut that down there, that could be a front cover. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some ideas of ways to make your own covers and ways to decorate them, and just to look at the things around you with new eyes. And if there's anything that you love around you, to find a way to include that in your journal somehow, whether you take a photocopy of it or you take a photo of it and put that photo on your cover, or I don't know, there's just so many ways to put more of you into your journals, personalize them, and create something that you see as beautiful and that you are proud of, and that then you can use, open up and fill it up with all your thoughts and all your photos and ephemera and your memories and your life stories in here. I mean, the cover that you create is beautiful, but really what makes a journal beautiful is what you put inside it. But I love that we get to house it in something that we've made and something that we see as beautiful. And that they go together. For me, the cover is the most important part of a journal. That's what makes me inspired and excited to use the journal, and often the cover tells me how I'm going to use the journal as well. So it informs me, it shapes the way I'm using it, and they work together. So I hope you have fun at home making your own covers. What's your favorite method to make a cover? I'd love to hear in the comments. And if you're making your own cover, let me know what you're going to try, what method, and hope it turns out beautifully. If you want to share with me what you make, I'd love to see it as well. Just tag me on Instagram or share with me in the Willow Bound Journals Facebook group page. And yeah, have fun. I just hope my channel helps people out there make journals and use their journals and get so much joy out of that entire process of making them and filling them up. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out as well. Happy to help, and I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to journal your life, because your stories matter. Bye guys! A big thank you to my beautiful patrons who supported me in November. I hope you absolutely loved all of the extras this month. And if you would like to support me in December and get access to extra videos and printables, behind the scenes updates, and first access to any of my creations, the link is down below in the description box. The links are also down there to all of my journaling courses. The Reflections journaling course is running all through December if you would like to document your year for 2022. And if you would like to support my book fundraiser, the link is there to my GoFundMe page as well.